I'd like you to look at this as the idea of, a very, very busy and very successful friend taking a morning out of their schedule to turbocharge your career. Think of it that way, Can you get us all a pay rise, Mishal? That would be great. She's the Michael Palin of news. And as an opening gambit, I wanted to ask you, was that a decision that you made? Because trust me, not all presenters are like that. Is that a decision you made?
To be what? To be
not horrific?
I guess a lot of the things did come from journalism, in the sense that the more I thought about what I had learned from presenting, the more I realized that there are aspects of that are really relevant and useful to any line of work and any stage of life, because we live in an age of very short attention spans. We all have a limited time to be heard. As a journalist, I realized that I'm generally better at telling other people's stories than telling my own. And that's not just true in journalism, it's true of all of us, that a lot of us are comfortable asking other people about what they do. We're comfortable probably talking about our work. But the minute it comes to putting ourselves forward, I think a lot of us struggle with that. Many of us in this room come from an Asian background. I think for me, there was an element of my background where I've been brought up to be, understated and modest about what I've done, that actually did prevent me then putting myself forward to the extent that I have needed to at different stages. So I've had to learn to do this over time, and a lot of it I wish I had learned earlier on. You don't want to be the person who spends so much time thinking about the dream job that they end up distracted and not very good at what they do now.
Can we talk about nerves and fear?
We can.
I'm going to let you do that.
We can. Because one of the reasons that I wrote the book was that often people would say, you must never get nervous doing what you do. And this question started to really bother me, because I thought, if people are really thinking, well, a certain kind of person who never gets nervous is the kind of person who ends up doing a job like that, that is a problem for society, because too many people are then excluding themselves out of that entirely. I dislike the whole any kind of these sort of superhuman, superwoman kind of tags, because I think they just are, they're not true the vast majority of the time, and they're really the opposite of empowering and helpful to other people.
And I'm actually going to demonstrate something from the book now, so please watch, because I'll test you afterwards. I demonstrated 4 things from your book there. What were they?
Well,
so what I did was open my arms to occupy space.
Yeah.
I leant forwards, and I looked from the left to the right and the middle. And also the power pause.
You were doing all of that naturally.
Come on, it's worth noticing.
I love thinking she got it from the book, but it's not true. If people see me as a role model, I'm very privileged if I'm seen that way, or when I'm seen that way. And it felt a bit uncomfortable at the beginning, but then I realized how much I relied on, whether it was in the first career I wanted to get into, which was law, or in journalism, how much I relied on people with whom I could relate in some way, people whose bylines were different, people who looked different from the mainstream. They looked different, and that meant a lot to me, and without them, I'm not sure I would ever have thought journalism was a place for me. But I think you can find all sorts of role models. You will find people, even if it's someone who, even if you can't see the person who looks like you and has a name like you and sounds like you, has come from a similar background, I think we can find inspiration in all sorts of places.